Have you ever felt frustrated after a conversation? Maybe you wish that you would have spoken up a little bit more. Or maybe you felt like you were carrying the entire conversation and the other was doing nothing at all. In this video, I'm going to give you a tool that will, one, give you more insight into your conversations and your role in them, and two, will give you more freedom and control in how you want your conversations to go. Besides in your personal life, this tool will be especially useful in your professional life. That may be now or in the future, maybe during a job interview, or maybe you're going to be a trainer or a coach or a manager or a therapist. And then this tool will really help you understand the dynamics that take place in a conversation and how you can shift those. Another important thing to know before we get into what is this tool and how do you use it is throughout the weeks, you will be required in this course to use this tool to reflect on your own behavior and its impact on the other. And you will also be graded on this during the final assignment. So watch the video, make sure you understand the theory, and use this tool throughout the weeks to reflect on yourself. Write down what you figure out so that you can use it by the end of the course in your final assignment. So what is this tool that I'm going on about? It's called Leary's Interpersonal Circumplex, or Learys Rose. Let's take a look at the model and how it works. What the model does is it divides human interaction along two axes, a horizontal attitude axis and a vertical dominance axis. The vertical axis represents dominance, and you have an up position and a down position. The higher you are on the axis, the more dominant you are. If you are in an up position, the other will have the tendency to go towards a down position. If you are in a down position, the other will have the tendency to go towards an up position. This is called the complementarity principle. On the dominance axis, people tend to respond in a complementary way. Now, let's take a look at another axis. On the attitude axis, you have an opposed and a together position. The more to the right your position, the more cooperative your communication. This axis works differently than the previous one. If you are in a together position, you also elicit a together response from the other person. If you're in an opposed position, you also elicit an opposed response from the other. This is called the symmetry principle. On the attitude axis, people respond symmetrically. By placing these two axes in a rows, you get four quadrants. Up together, down opposed, and up opposed. In the up together position, you take a leading role. You take initiative and are supportive. For example, you might say something like, "Come on, let's do this presentation together." In the down together position, you take a role of asking for help. You're friendly, cooperative, but you are leaving the initiative and control to the other person. You might say something like, "Would you maybe like to do this presentation together?" In the down opposed position, you are more defensive and maybe even passive aggressive. You complain or maybe you feel helpless. And you might say something like, "Well, I don't really know if it's such a great idea for us to work on the presentation together." In the up opposed position, you are in the attacking position. You're confrontational and aggressive. And you might say something like, "You're terrible at presentations. Of course I don't want to do it with you." So how do you apply this? Now, imagine you're a therapist or a coach and you're trying to help a client to quit smoking. Your client tells you that she hasn't been able to quit and that she's even still smoking around her 4-year-old daughter. You say, "You should really quit doing that. You are damaging your daughter's lungs." So now you're taking an up opposed position. The principle of complementarity tells us she will go down. And the principle of symmetry tells us she will stay opposed. The client will naturally take the down opposed position. "Well, you don't understand. Like, life, it's been really stressful and honestly, maybe you're right. Maybe I am just a terrible mother." If you want the client to go into a down together position to get her to be more cooperative, what position should you take? You should take an up together position. And you might say something like, "I'm sorry to hear that. That must be frustrating for you. Let's take a look together at what we can do about it." And she might say something like, "Yes, I'd love to. Please tell me what I can do." But maybe you want your client to take more responsibility. So you want her in an up together position. Then you should take a down together position. You might say something like, "Would you like to tell me more about it?" And she might say something like, "Yeah, I feel so frustrated with myself. There must be some way that I can change my behavior." By understanding in which quadrant you or your partner are communicating and understanding which position would be most productive for your conversation, you can choose to change your own behavior based on the complementarity and symmetry principles. In that way, you can make your conversation more productive. So that was Learys Rose. I hope you understand the theory, and I would like to encourage you over the next few days, weeks, to really use this tool in your personal interactions in your life and to see, do I recognize this? Can I see if I have a certain personal tendency? Do I tend to go up? Do I tend to go down? Do I tend to go into, against or for? Find out what are my natural tendencies. And also see, are there any situations in which I could maybe become conscious of this and consciously choose some different position to take and see if you can shift it. We will be using this tool over the next weeks in the tutorial, so make sure that, every time you run into something, write it down in your portfolio, and then by the end, when your final assignment comes, you have a little collection of insights when it comes to Leary's circumplex or Leary's Rose that you can use in your portfolio, so you don't have to stress out by the time you have to get going and get graded.